Okay, welcome everyone. Denny Grimes, Master of Real Estate. We're doing scripts and role play, and I always like to welcome everyone that's coming in from the Facebook Live, or you might be signed up on the Zoom. I've got some of my own teammates on here, which is awesome. We just had a great role play today. Some of the ideas I'm going to be sharing with you actually came from the role play today, and it actually gives me new material all the time. So I'm coming from Southwest Florida, Naples, Fort Myers, and the market here is white hot. I trust you're doing well in real estate as well. So if you're new to the class, a couple things I want to share with you is that I do have a YouTube channel, Denny Grimes, the Master of Real Estate, and I think I'm about 4 or 5 subscribers short of 300. I know that's not like upper atmosphere yet. However, we are growing. And if you have not subscribed, please go there and subscribe. I'd like to push it over to 300 by next week. Again, we're on at Tuesdays. And tell your friends to be on this because we want to bring value, and I learned from doing this. So go to Denny Grimes, Master of Real Estate, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you want to block your calendar, unless something changes, sometimes we have to move it around a little bit. Our classes are on Tuesdays, 1 to 2 Eastern Standard Time, every Tuesday for 1 hour, mastery level scripts and role play. So I always like to start with the thought of the day. Now I've got Sunny, my director of growth. She's always handy in the chat. If you want to chat or if you want to ask a question, you can do that. Just raise your hand because this is all about your class. I'm not going to be preaching. If I have to do all the talking and preach, I promise you I'll probably take up an offering. So I have a thought of the day. So, and this came up at role play today, and I made a note of it, and I think it's worth talking about. And here's my thought of the day, or my factoid of the day. Only use a script until you have the opportunity to become human. Now write that down. Only use the script until you have the opportunity to be human. Now, again, when we're doing our, what's interesting, when we're doing our care and concern calls for Sphere, people in your phone, you probably don't have to be quite so perfect, although there's no reason not to be perfect on your introduction. Now, we were going over scripts today, scripts you probably have heard or seen before, and like a for sale by owner or an expired listing. And here's the thing, here's the thought that hit me like a V8 moment. There's a series of questions they take you through, like, how long are you going to wait before you hire, make a decision to hire the right agent for your home? Why do you think your home didn't sell? What did your agent do right? What did your agent do wrong? Who's your favorite NFL quarterback? I mean, it goes through all kinds of different questions. It's like, you guys, look, I made this little slide. It's like driving on the interstate. The script is the interstate. Use the script until you have an exit, which gives you the opportunity to make an appointment. That's what I'm talking about when you have the opportunity to be human. Our case in point today, and this was a classic example we had in a role play, and our team does such a great job of being buyers and sellers, said, well, in fact, what was it you said? Brenda, do you remember what they said? Because I think you were involved in that role play. Something about I was concerned about, getting the right money, right dollar for my house or something. She had a concern. And what's interesting is when we get those scripts down pat, when we're doing lead generation scripts for listings or for buyers, circle prospecting scripts. Again, we're on the phone. You can have the script in front of you. And again, if you're familiar enough with it, it won't sound like you're reading it. In fact, I could actually be on a teleprompter right now, and I'm not. But however, good people can be on a teleprompter and you don't know they're reading it. So you can read the script and there's a series of questions. And so what happened was this particular seller, who was I think at the time was a buy owner, actually was an expired listing. And so she was concerned about, well, I don't know if we're going to go and hire another agent or sell it ourselves. We have concerns about this, blah, blah, blah. She had made the same statement twice about her concern. Now, if you're still on the interstate, you would be thinking you had to read all the questions on the script. And I don't know why I didn't think of this before. If they give you the off-ramp, write it down, take it. So when there was an opportunity, her concern was, I've just been able to, sell my house for the money I need to get in order to get moved. Let's say it's that. And Well, I don't know why my house didn't sell. Do you know why my house didn't sell? Well, what did your agent do right? Well, that makes no sense. Why do you say, well, gosh, be human. I don't know. However, I'd like to help you find out when can I come by and take a look at it for you. So maybe it's so simple you don't even have to write it down. I think it's an aha for me that I really never talked about at this level. When you have the opportunity to be human, do so. And it's going to tie into another slide here on my factoids or thoughts of the day. So that's number one. Number two, during the role play today, and this has come up before many times, many times in my bold coaching, is that people don't want to use scripts because they don't sound like them. All right, nothing sounds like you until you actually practice it a little bit. And so I made this statement, which I think is a nice little factoid, and it says here, big dollars don't exist in the ad lib world. Now, I don't know, many of you guys might like to go to stand-up comedy clubs. Not my gig. I'd rather sit and watch a sports match or something like that. And I don't like sometimes the direction of the conversation goes in. However, what's interesting about most comedy clubs, I'm not talking about the impromptu ones where they basically have to do something on the fly. The greatest comedians, everything they say and they make money in the Seinfelds of the world, you guys, is a script. Now, it doesn't sound like a script at all because they've practiced it. They know the pause. They know how to read the audience, right? So we will all be more effective if we know what we're going to say in advance and we practice it. The same is true when I'm teaching this class. I generally start, obviously, in the morning. And I've done this a lot. However, I start in the morning. I'm already preparing for my bold class I have to teach next week. I have to launch that. I've been doing that 4.5 years. So I've time blocked 2 hours a day to study the material in order to present it properly. Listen, if every area of every dollar we spend in recreation, we're going to pay money to watch someone make us laugh, make us cry, entertain us, and everything they've done has been memorized. So you guys don't be afraid to do the practice. What we're talking about here on this call for 1 hour in the mastery level role play is how to think. I'm not teaching you how to speak. I use the analogy today, and I like to use golf analogies because I live on a golf course, right? You can read all the books you want about golf, take all the lessons in the classroom about golf. However, you've got to go out there and hit the ball. And until you do, you're not going to get good. So I trust you guys, I'm talking to my team and you guys out there, that you have practice. And you don't have no one to practice with, you can't find a consistent partner, well then read it over and over and over again. So going back to that concept, what do you think, how do you think basically you would be doing when you make your call? And we have some awesome, settings in our, like, for example, we're doing a lot of cold calls in our role plays, right? We're circle prospecting, we're calling by owners, we're calling et cetera, et cetera. You have to be able to nail the first minute. You can't stumble because you're going to lose them right away. And all you have to do is practice, right? Practice. We can say the Pledge of Allegiance, all by ourselves right now because we've been doing it since we've been in kindergarten. So don't wing it. Spend time role playing and practicing. This class will teach you how to think, won't teach you how to speak. Last factoid, before we go into some things and maybe some questions, you can add your questions if you want in the chat. You can add your ahas as we go. That would be awesome. Here is the next point. We've talked about this several times. However, I just wanted to give you a graphic to help it lock into your brain. What we practice here is question-based listening enhanced conversational scripts. And I'm growing as a better listener. We've been doing it now the best part of a year on this call, and even my team, I'm seeing them start to grow and listen more. And many times, like, I'll ask them, what did you hear? And they're picking up on words. Now, the importance of that is this. Just like this photograph here, the doctor is examining the patient. If someone has a pain or a problem, and they understand they do, and they go to a professional, they're sitting with a professional, are they more likely for you? Are they more likely to be open to the fact that that professional may have the answer to the problem? So this is the thing I want you to write down, is the fact, don't treat until you help them understand they have a problem. Because you can preach all you want about treatment. However, if they don't understand they have a problem, in other words, where's the pain? For example, the unassisted seller, which I really don't like for sale by owners. I'd love for you to get this into your vocabulary. The unassisted seller. And you use that because everybody says FSBO or for sale by owner. Well, they're unassisted. And I think that sends a message. And in fact, it's one of those things you could say that makes them think, what do you mean I'm unassisted? Well, the buyers out there you're working with are going to have a professional agent who is representing you, right? It just gives you a little bit of a lever point. So when you think about in this market, is that where is the pain point? Where do you, and you can speak up here, unmic yourself. Generally speaking, for a seller, this is a for sale by owner, unassisted seller, or a seller in this marketplace, where is the pain point? I know every individual could be different. However, there's one generally one common pain point. What is it? I'm not reading the chat, so if you put it in the chat, make sure that I think Sunny's watching. What is it, you guys? Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Denny.
I didn't know if you're making. Oh, you're here. Well, hey, sorry if I'm talking so much. Hey, Jeff, how you doing, man?
No, I'm doing well. No, I'm glad. This is good information. Unassisted seller. I've never called any. I don't know what their true pain points are, but my assumption would be, if I was trying to do this on my own, would be the process.
Okay.
Getting to the closing table,
Totally agree.
Mine would be when the house doesn't sell.
Okay, well, all right, so when the house doesn't sell, that would be like a normal market. We're kind of in a crazy market now where they might think they're bulletproof, and so selling the house is seemingly easy to them, right? So selling the house or failure to sell a house probably isn't the same pain point as it once was. I think, okay, so let's just keep peeling back the onion. All right, so I'm gonna go back to the slide right here. That's you're the doctor, and the patient is the unassisted seller, or it could be a seller just in general. Question one, do they need you? Does a seller in their minds need us in this market?
In their minds, no.
No, not in their minds.
So, right, because they define success in selling their house, right? So I want you to understand, if you happen to be that doctor and you're, quote, selling your service and they don't believe they have a problem, how long will they stay on the visit? May not be very long. So we have to help them understand where their pain point is. One of them is, well, okay, it'd be easy to sell your home. However, do you realize how many contracts bust apart or fall through before it gets to the closing table? That is a pain point. What is another one, you guys? Come on, we are the professionals, and we have to be able to diagnose this, help people understand it by asking great questions. What is the pain point?
How to negotiate to get the top dollar.
In this market, it would be difficult to negotiate if you had multiple offers, knowing how to look at a good offer.
Well, all right. So you said two things. There's two pain points there, all tied to the same thing. Do they need us to sell their house? No. However, the pain point is, how much money are you going to leave on the table? Then, all right, congratulations. You have multiple offers now. Having the conversation, just like the doctor is, you have multiple offers. How are you going to decide the best one? Jeff, role play with me. You're the seller, and I'm meeting with you, and you're thinking about going, unassisted or whatever. So you have multiple offers. Congratulations. Or I'll just say you are an unassisted seller, and we talked about this, I think, last week or the week before. You've had 8 showings. You got 4 more scheduled today. Here, so role play with me. So Jeff, let me ask you this. Let's say you had a good day, and between those 12 showings, you have 3 offers tomorrow. What are you going to do?
I guess I'm going to try to review the offers and see which one is the best price.
Okay, and how many different variables are there on a contract that you should be considering?
I don't know, I guess the price and, how they're gonna pay for the house.
Okay, so, all right, so they may have financing or cash and price. Okay, so one of them basically has the best price. One of them is cash, and the other one is probably not one you'd consider. How do you know which one to go with? Which one do you select?
You also have to consider the contingencies
Okay,
and the lender to make sure you're going to get to the closing table.
Well, I'm doing this from a role play perspective as a seller who maybe doesn't understand all the contingencies.
yeah, but I'm glad you're bringing, yeah, right. So you guys understand there's a lot of things that can go wrong, yes? Yes.
That's
So,
right.
so Jeff, now, so I'm just going to role play with you ways that you can help them discover their pain point. All right. So you have an offer. One is a pretty good price and cash. One is a better price and financing. Which one do you take?
Well, I mean, I think if they're well qualified, I should go with the higher price one.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, so had you thought about your counter offer strategy?
Well, I mean, if they're offering more money than I was asking for, I feel like that would be pretty good.
Well, it would be good. However, would you like to have good or great?
Well, I guess great sounds better than good.
Can I tell you a quick story?
Sure.
Just last week, one of our agents had a call and a conversation with someone just like you. Here's what I want you to write down. I'm out of script right now. Have your third-party story ready. You can't be umming and thinking about it. You've got to speak with conviction. The unassisted seller was happy with 225. Luckily they let us meet with them and take over the reins of their home. Now they became an assisted seller. We were representing them and we negotiated a contract at $265,000. That was $40,000 extra they put in their pocket. Now they felt okay at 225. That was good. Would you consider 265 better?
That's substantially better.
So my concern is in this white hot market, you'll get a lot of attraction, a lot of attention, I'm sorry. And you might get more than one person that wants to buy it. However, getting it sold or under contract is easier than getting it closed. And it's easier to undersell it than oversell it. So let me ask you, would you hire a professional like me if I were free?
Yeah, I mean, sure.
So I'm not going to go into the role play of that. However, do you understand there's a lot of ways you can walk them through to help them understand the pain point. One of the strongest things you can do, and again, I'm not a big teller. However, when you give them a story, that's not telling, as long as you ask at the end. So how do you think that seller felt walking away with $40,000 more?
I would have to imagine pretty good.
So so you guys, there's a lot of things. Okay, so that's on a seller. Let's talk about where's the pain on a buyer. Who's working with a buyer right now? They might be a little bit ornery. And let's talk in terms of how you would use the same strategy of finding the pain point for a buyer.
Losing the home.
Okay. Losing the home.
Being forced to pay more than they feel it's worth.
All right. Got it. Keep going. I mean, there's probably 20 or there's no one right answer. There's going to be 20 of them, right? So which one would you like to have? Well, we can have a short role play. I can take it or somebody else can be the agent if you want to. Generally, I don't know if Mark's on here today. He's always a good guy that likes to role play. So you want to take one over maybe afraid of paying too much or afraid of losing the house. And is there somebody out there that like to role play it as the agent and as the buyer? Don't be shy. Jeff, which one do you want to be?
I think I'll be the agent.
Awesome. Any volunteers for buyer? Going once?
Hey, buyer.
Okay, who is that? Reagan?
Yes.
Reagan. Okay, you're the buyer and you're having a conversation face to face, and your concern is what, Reagan?
I just don't want to overpay for this house.
You're up, Jeff.
So Reagan, yeah, I certainly can appreciate that. I mean, this is a huge financial decision, and I wouldn't want to overpay either. Let me ask you a question. Based on the time that we've been out looking at houses together, do you feel like if you had been able to purchase a year or two ago that you'd be happy where you are today with the house?
I might have been.
I mean,
wasn't.
Yeah, based on the market, we found that we have a lot of buyers who bought 2 years ago that were thinking maybe, I'd like to wait, or it's kind of a hot, crazy market. And, they went ahead and pulled the trigger, and now they're very happy with all the increased equity. If you bought a house today and the prices continue to rise, and maybe in a year or two you had another 40,000 in equity, would you be pretty happy about that?
I would, but I'm not sure. I'm convinced that prices will continue to go up.
Yeah, and we don't have a crystal ball. No one knows for sure, right, that that's going to happen. Would you say the market's working against you or for you right now?
What do you mean by that?
Like, with prices continue to rise as a buyer, do you think that's to your advantage right now today?
No.
And so if you bought in 6 months and prices were on the way down, do you think that would be better for you to buy and as prices continue to drop?
That could be, yeah.
So at the end of the day, you have to make a decision. And my question to you is, would you rather buy a house with the potential of increased equity as the market continues to rise, which again, we don't know, or would you be happier buying in 6 months or a year, buying a house and then watching prices continue to fall? Well, at the end of the day, which one would make you more comfortable?
Neither. So,
I mean,
don't.
That's the dilemma that we're in. We really can't predict the future. However, people that are buying right now are seeing equity almost instantly. And certainly in most cases, you'd agree that's better than seeing a decrease in equity, right? Or seeing a drop in value.
Right.
So is it worth at least taking a look at to see if we can go out and find you the right house that you wouldn't feel like you're overpaying on, and maybe it's going to meet your needs and help you lock in a great low rate for the next 30 years?
I'll take a look at it.
All right, awesome. So as we always go through our role play, and we always ask the person, and then we'll give you all a chance to give your input if you want. You can either speak up or in the chat. Jeff, can you handle that? Okay, so what do you think you did well?
Well, I think my challenge was I was trying to figure out or how to create the pain. So I was trying to ask the questions. I was trying to somewhat follow the model, but it was a little different because it wasn't a scripted, just follow the model to get an appointment kind of thing. It was more of where can I create pain? And I think I did okay, but I think I could have asked maybe some better questions to help her realize the pain.
So Reagan, how did you feel as a buyer?
Well, I guess it's tough being the buyer when you know a little bit more than the buyer you'd be talking to. I was trying to figure out ways to make it difficult, but I already knew the answers. So, yeah, I mean, he had some really good points that he was bringing up. I might have wanted to dig in a little bit deeper on the motivation of the buyer just to find out, if there's something more I can do to help them realize it's more important now. But
right. So I'll open it up to anyone. Thanks, Reagan, for that. Thank you guys for role playing. Any comments from you guys listening? And again, this is what we do. This is on role play. Anything that you heard or observations that would be beneficial to everyone as we're attempting to get better here.
You guys can lay it into me. I want to hear it.
I know my team has things to say because they always do. They're laying back because they are nervous or whatever, because they're new on this call. Come on, you guys. What? I know there's one thing you want to say right off the bat. What is it? I'm looking. Is Brenda still on the call? Brenda, are you there? Are you playing Candy Crush? What's going on?
They want to say how good looking my picture is. That's what they want to say first.
Yeah. Well, here, first thing I want to make sure. Let's go ahead and just kind of go through this. We're going to do another one and work on a little bit more in depth of finding the pain. Here's a model we always talk about. You acknowledge, isolate, answer, and close. So, Jeff, how were you at following the model?
I don't think I was completely on. I think I was doing pieces of the model, but it didn't feel like I was flowing through the model.
Okay, so do you have clarity? Now, what's great about this, you guys, is we can watch game film. And because when you're with a buyer or a seller and you have to redo it in your mind, we have a chance to like redo it here. So is there anything you're a little bit unclear of, Jeff, in your conversation with Reagan?
Well, I don't think I ever really, I didn't take I think I acknowledged her concern. I'm not completely sure I isolated it. And then I was trying to come from curiosity asking questions, but I'm not sure that I ever, exposed like, what her real pain is. I don't think I asked some of the right questions.
So you were role playing, Reagan. Do you feel like he got to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop of your real concern? And I find people that role play, they're actually get into role. And so did you have something that was buried that didn't come out that you were waiting on him to really touch on?
I think maybe if we got a little bit more into why I didn't want to pay more, or how much more I would be willing to pay.
Right.
Perfect. Now, Jeff, we're gonna let you do this again. Okay, so this is take 2. Same thing. We'll take 3 minutes, you guys, and watch this. Now, follow the model. And also the other rule is if there's dollars involved, money involved, quantify it. What do you mean overpay? How do you define overpay? A seller saying, well, will you discount your commission? Well, how much are you looking for a discount? Blah, blah, blah. So don't let the numbers hang out there nebulous, because you can't attack that. So the model is acknowledge, isolate. So your concern is, I don't want to overpay. Take 2, Jeff, go.
No, I completely understand that. I certainly wouldn't want you to feel like you overpaid for one of your life's biggest purchases. Other than feeling like you're concerned to overpay, is there any other reason that you wouldn't want to go ahead and purchase a house now in this equity growing market?
That's the script, you guys. Other than that, this is where most agents, and Jeff, we've been doing this together for the better part of a year, and he leads it, and it's just, we get so entwined to wanting to maybe attack something or handle something, we forget this. So just got to remember, other than that, because there's no greater, all right, I'm going to go back to this slide now. Other than the fact you're having, you're having trouble sleeping, what else is going on? You see how the relationship is starting to develop? Keep going.
Yeah, so other than, being concerned about, paying too much for the home and having that nagging feeling that you overpaid, is there anything else going on that would stop you from wanting to purchase now and take advantage of a growing equity market?
No, not really. Okay,
so let me ask you this, Reagan. If we could find a way to get you into a house today and show you the numbers that make sense for you so that you wouldn't feel like you're overpaying, is it worth having a conversation about?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and just so I understand with a little more clarity, how do you define overpaying?
Well, I've had a couple friends that were looking at houses and they were paying like you know, $300,000 houses and they were paying $350,000. I just think that's, and it's not even in line with, you know, what other things are selling for. It just seems, it seems a little over the top. So I'll be reasonable about it. I'd like to see what the market is showing things are selling for. I don't mind paying asking or a little over, but I don't want to pay that much over for a house.
And okay, I completely understand that, Reagan, and that makes sense. Are you aware how agents would come up with what the list price is versus what the actual ultimate sale price ends up being?
No.
Okay, and then I'm going to time out, but I might go into a little conversation about that, and then from there.
Okay, I mean, I think you could put a bow in this really quick based on what she said. Now, again, now, just for the rest of the folks out there, now when she said, well, I've had friends that, you know, they're paying $350,000 for a house, you know, we're not even worth that. You still may have the opportunity there. Well, okay, what else? How you may want to another opportunity to isolate. What else is going on? What else are you, how you find overpaying? Okay, so let's just get through that. How would you then bring Lassie home right now with that? Everything you did is right. You asked the closing, addressed it, you closed. Now she brought up asking price and what they're paying. Where do you go from there? Because this is real.
Reagan, why don't we get together and I can show you exactly how the market works and how the three outcomes work on any sale from the seller's perspective of what they're looking for, and you can get a better idea of ultimately what overpaying would mean to you, and see if there's an opportunity for us out there.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going now. You're used the three things. Let's just, you guys, I have the three outcome sheet. If you want to know what it is, but if you don't have it, put your name and email in the chat and we'll make sure you get it. I've never seen it used on a buyer. So you think that would work?
Sure.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's high retail, there's retail, and there's, you know, what people are really overpaying for is high retail. You explain what the difference is. And maybe the buyer starts saying, okay, well, now I see why people are paying more money for these particular houses versus maybe a different one. I mean, that was the idea that I would.
Okay. Now, I've never seen that high retail or whatever. In fact, my blink on it is just my blink. No judgment. My blink is I don't like it because I don't want to play high retail. What if you did something like this, you guys? So let me ask you, do you judge overpaying by the how much over the asking price you might have to pay to own the home, Reagan?
No.
Okay, how do you define overpaying?
Finding an average house that still needs updating and having to pay significantly more over the asking price, and then still having to go in and do work to it.
So now you just confused me because you put asking price in there. So let me use a real example here. Let's say that the house is $300,000 and it needs a lot of work. And would you feel comfortable paying $300,000 if it needed a lot of work?
Possibly, but just depends on, you know, how that compares to the other houses that are selling for $300,000.
Okay, let's say it didn't need a lot of work. It's $300,000. Now that same house, let's say, comes on the market and it's not $300,000, but it's worth $300,000. It comes on the market at $200,000. What would you be willing to pay for that house?
Well, that's a confusing question now.
Well, if you saw someone maybe that really was attempting to get, you know, maybe they mispriced it, and you knew it was worth 300 and they were asking 200, and you know, obviously there's going to be multiple bids on it. How much would you be willing to pay to get the house? Would it have any? Well, I guess what I'm asking you, Reagan, would it have anything to do with the asking price?
No, not necessarily.
So let's go back. If you don't want to overpay, Now you're using your standards. For example, if the house needed work and you said your friends were paying $350 for houses you think were worth $300, yet there was 5 or 6 other buyers willing to pay the $350, do you think there's a disconnect between your expectations and the market?
I can't really answer that. I'm not sure.
Well, if a half a dozen people are willing to pay $350 and you don't think it's worth it, and this happens over and over again, would you not think that maybe your expectations were not lined up with market reality? Because
It's quite possible. It's quite possible.
So I guess, and so I'm discovering here too, guys. I'm learning something here. Do you define overpaying? Is overpaying as to market value or overpaying to what you feel it's worth? Now, I'm going to stop right there. That's a key aha for me. I don't think I've ever came and really sliced that question like that. People will define overpaying. They'd have no problem if, I'm sure there's 5 or 6 or 20 people want to buy the house at $350. I don't want to buy it at $350 because I don't think it's worth it to me. So are you defining what it's worth, not by market value, but by what you think it's worth?
I would say that definitely has a weighing factor into making my decision.
Okay.
It's not 100%. You know, I do want to look at what the market would pay for it, but if it's, I guess it's got to be really worth it to me if I was going to do that. It's have to be something special.
Now, has anyone or is anyone working with a buyer that is really, really particular, picky, you know, maybe borderline unrealistic?
Yes.
Now, it sounds like, I think we have someone on our team, I didn't hear them say yes, that is like that. In fact, I think my daughter is working with one too. In fact, okay, so my daughter is working with someone, great guy, however, he is an analyzer. And so he wants to analyze everything before he makes the decision. And so during his analyzing period, guess what happens? The house sells.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can put a bow on this, and you guys can tag me out if you want to. So just to make sure that I'm clear, Reagan, on this, that you realize that basically the asking price and the sales price above asking price, that doesn't concern you. Do you have a concern about that if it sells over asking price?
No.
Okay. Because if you went to a concert and was sold out and they're selling the tickets outside the door and you really wanted to go in and see Shania Twain and there were $100 tickets and they were selling them outside for $200 and you really wanted to go to the concert, what would you do?
I've overpaid for concert tickets before.
Okay, now someone take that, please. What would you say to that? Because that was a potentially dangerous statement. Did you pick up on that?
Yeah, she said I overpaid, meaning she paid more than it was worth, and she did that intentionally.
Now, do you see how, and I know this is a role play. However, when you hear stuff like this is like going back to this type of situation right here. You've got to be listening. Now, she doesn't want to overpay for a house. Now she's saying she's overpaid for concert tickets before. Now, do you think there might be a link there in how she defines value? So, yeah, ask her a question, someone, because she's actually turning out to be a good Dr. Phil opportunity here.
If you can get a house that you love that meets all your needs, and you have to pay a little more for it, is it really overpaying if it meets all your goals and your dreams?
It may not be. I'm not sure if that house exists, but if you can find it for me.
So let me add some sandpaper to you guys. If you ask a question that has nothing to do with what she said, you've missed the opportunity. The puzzle here is, well, tell me, Reagan, when did you overpay for a concert ticket? How did that happen?
I'll build the story.
I overpaid because I didn't buy them when they went on sale, and I really wanted to go. By the time they were, I wanted to go a day before, you had to pay more for them.
Well, did you enjoy the show?
Yes.
So you didn't have to buy them.
No.
So are you, oh, I found it, you guys, I found it. Looking back on that scenario, would you, if you could Groundhog Day and do that over again, Groundhog Day that and do it over again, would you have bought them sooner?
Probably. Yes.
I'm thinking like, wow, that was an
Make it easier for you. Yes, I would.
Yeah, we don't have to make it easier for me.
Yeah.
You guys see where I'm tracking? She's opened the door. Here's what I'm discovering. Now, you can't listen, Reagan. Here's what I'm discovering. Overpaying means she's paying more that she could have paid less for if she'd acted sooner. She didn't complain about paying the price. She enjoyed the concert. And she didn't have to do it. No one made her do it. She's probably kicking herself because she could have got it. If she'd have bought the tickets when they first came out, she would have paid less. Therefore, her definition of overpaying is not taking advantage of it here, and it goes up here. I'm just guessing that's where it is. How do you make that work with you here? Where's the pain? And Jeff, you were on this trail originally.
I think the pain is why wait? If we can find what you want today, and there's a good chance that in the future you'd have to overpay for that same home.
Yes, but now tie it to the tickets. That's your opportunity, you guys. That's the listening part.
Right. So at the end of the day, Reagan, if you had bought your ticket sooner and could have got a much better price, would you have been happy about that?
Yes, I would have.
And you still enjoyed this experience the same way either way, but you just would have saved a lot of money, right?
Yes.
So in order to get a great house for you today at today's current low interest rates and today's current price, would it make sense to save the money today so that you don't have to pay more 6 months from now?
Yes.
The link would have been, now you're on the right trail, the link would have been, can you see how buying a house today and in this white hot market is just like those tickets? You can buy now, or you can buy later for more. What makes the most sense to you? Do you see how, it's no different than really what you were doing, Jeff. I'm just wanting to show you guys opportunities that they will say that you can use and get rid of the stupid scripts and start having a consultation with them, just like the doctor. And now you've discovered the pain point. So I think that was an awesome role play, because the way she was defining overpaying, and I'm just making an assumption here, was very interesting. It had nothing to do with overpaying of a relative market value. I think she's evaluating things in the rear view mirror. So anyway, awesome job on that. Any ahas, any comments? We did a lot of talking on that. I thought that was really, really a great learning experience. You guys have anything to say?
Yeah, I think, you know, being able to use the model to more effectively dig for the pain. And then you made that key point, you know, which we all as great salespeople should use, but forget often, is to have the story. When you have an actual story that they can relate to personally. I went to 2 concerts. My wife, we hadn't gone to one since we first dated. I got those tickets super cheap to see the Gypsy Kings on the lawn in Meriwether Post Pavilion in Maryland. Now she wants to go see Pitbull Enrique Iglesias and Mark Anthony a couple years ago, and those tickets were ridiculous. And we didn't want to sit up in the nosebleed. We wanted to sit down front. We watched, you know, we were high-fiving Mark Anthony as he walked by, you know, so we paid a lot for those tickets, you know, and she could care less. She had a blast. You know, I'm still paying off the bill, but, you know, it was, I mean, that's a real story that real people do. And the experience was phenomenal. And, you know, having a story to tie in that individual can relate to directly is much more powerful than us just trying to throw scenarios out, which Denny reminded me of in the middle of that.
All right. So what's in the chat? I see some comments there. What's there, son? Anything?
No, I was just leaving money on the table, and Brenda apologized and she had to go on the floor.
Okay, we'll go sell something. Okay, so we got a few minutes before we go. What would you like to do? Is there anything out there you guys would like to cover? Got some regulars on here. Anything you'd like us to cover?
Denny, I would like to throw a quick scenario out. We won't have time to unpack it all, but I had the most unique situation I've run into as a real estate agent. I'd like to just run it by you before I reach back out to this guy.
Okay.
So I recently signed up for the Nextdoor app, and I kind of watched communications on there. And a realtor posted, "Hey, I'm looking for a good agent. We're ready to sell our house. You know, we have some specific criteria. Please direct message me if you have suggestions." So I read the whole post, listened to what he was saying, and then I direct messaged him, but I also read a bunch of the comments and what other people were saying and doing before I did that. Messaged the guy, and I just said, "Hey, you know, whether you use me as your agent or not, I would love to just hear about what your experience was and the issues you ran into with your last 2 experiences, and maybe I can give you a little insight, you know, to help you." So I took a different approach. I DM'd him. He reached back out to me, said, "Yeah, give me a call after 5 o'clock." Got the guy on the phone, and he took complete control of the conversation from the beginning. He was very adamant about, "I don't want to talk about my house. I don't want anybody coming to my house. I want to talk about the situation, and I want to see if you're willing to understand my conditions." And he threw him out there and he laid him out. And he's like overly educated. Someone's been giving him way too much information, but it was really interesting. In the back of my mind, I kept saying, I just need to get rid of this guy. But then the other back of my mind says, Denny says, always take the listing. So I got to at least try. So he said, we're going to interview 3 people for a meet and greet. And then at that point, we'll go with one of them, but we're not meeting with anybody until we've narrowed down to who we trust and feel like we want to work with. So I spent the whole conversation just listening, asking a few questions, interjecting, but he said, non-negotiables. Number 1, 4% commission. We refuse to pay more than that. We're also going to be buying a house, and you're going to get commission on that side too. And I'm not paying more than 4%. I've already had a couple agents say, forget it. They wouldn't even talk to me. Number 2, no sign on the house. And then he had a whole story about how during the pandemic, robberies have increased, and having a sign on your house, you know, may increase people's, you know, so we were talking about that. And I mentioned, you know, I interjected vacant properties. Typically that's probably a little more related. Number 3, no lockbox. He doesn't trust real estate agents, and he's heard of people giving the code to people and they going in and showing houses without an agent accompanying. So he'd only want to do private seller showings. And then number 4, which he's a little more flexible on, 90 days buyer's choice of house contingency. But he said he does have some flexibility on that one. He knows that might be a little long for someone to wait. So I went through all 4 of those things. I listened. I tried to build rapport with them. At the end of the day, he asked me to send over like kind of my resume and a few people, like references, and you know, he would get back to me when we can meet. So I feel like I'm in the running of one of the 3. I hung it out. I mean, there were points where this guy was going off on tangents, but I hung it out because I was like, let me learn from this and let me see how far I can get, whether it's going to be a person I want to work with or not.
What's the price range of the home?
It's probably it's a townhouse in Springfield, Virginia. I'm guessing in the 425, 450 price point. Looking to buy a single family in the, 525 price point, which is a little rare right now. Our single family price point is like, that's getting you in the door right now, if you're lucky.
So interesting, I guess seller, it is a quote, seller's market, right? Lender's market. So anyone want to, any comments, you guys, on that, what you would do? Or, so I have something to add maybe to the end. I just want to give you a chance. You've had some pesky sellers. Who would just say, no, thanks, it doesn't work? No judgment, just put it in the chat that say, who would say, no, thank you? And you could just say, yes. Yes means you'd say no, or no means you'd say no. Just put no in the chat. No, I wouldn't do it. Wouldn't do it at all. Because I don't quite understand the buying side. He wants you to get money back on the buying side too.
No, he didn't specifically go into that. He just felt like because I'm making money on the buying side, he doesn't need to, which I was okay. I didn't get into it, but I mean, I understand that reasoning.
So, okay, so the hardest part about that whole thing is to listen to someone talk a lot. I have several rules of real estate, and I'll just keep this slide up to the doctor. And in a normal market, one of my rules, if I'm going to work with them, is they have to understand the doctor-patient relationship, meaning I'm the doctor, they're the patient. This guy clearly understand what you mean by overeducated. We're in a different market now. So let's just assume I said, okay. And that's all. So let me ask you now, here would be the question that I would be dying to ask. So I'm assuming if you're going to meet with people, 3 people you're going to invite over, all 3 of those folks agreed to your terms. Would that be, Jeff, would that be accurate?
I would say that sounds pretty, they haven't necessarily, I would say, agreed to his terms, but they've said that I'm willing to work with your non-negotiables.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I guess you could say agreed, but.
Then here's my question, Mr. Seller, is this. If all of us, if the 3 of us, and I'm assuming I'll get invited, because that would be a wise move, and all 3 are there, and they've all agreed to your non-negotiables, how are you going to make your decision on which one you go with?
And his answer to that was, we kind of talked about that, and he said, it's going to be my gut feeling of who I trust the most, have the best rapport with, and who I feel like I'm going to be able to work with.
Okay.
And he said, I know real estate agents want to control things, but to work with me, you're not going to be in control.
Well, good. Well, let us know if you're one of the 3.
Yeah.
Sometimes people like that know what they want, although they're a little bit, if you allow them to go. Sometimes they're not bad to work with. I'd rather work with somebody who knows what they want than they have no idea what they want. We had a comment come in this past week. We can spend a few minutes on this, talking about the pain points. There's an increasing number of buyers out there that want to work with a listing agent. And so unless you want us to talk about something else, I would like us to have a conversation about this for 5 or 6 minutes, if we're good to go on that. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about? The few people that were left on the phone, I'll defer to you. Would you like to talk about something different than that?
I actually like that topic, Denny, and I've run into that a couple times.
So Reagan, you did an awesome job as a role play partner. Is there anyone out there that would like to be a potential buyer? And I'll work you through this scenario and see if I can make it happen in like 4 minutes. Who would like to be the buyer? And Al, you're quiet. Shefra, guys.
I'll be the buyer, Denny. Just give me the scenario.
All right, the scenario is you're a buyer and you only want to work with a listing agent. You guys see that out in Phoenix? Al, do you see that out in Phoenix?
Yeah. In fact,
okay. So you call me up, and so and it happens to be our team's listing, and then okay, so we look at the listing, and so the house doesn't really meet your needs, and so you say Well, hey, I'm going to say, all right, Al, so awesome. This house doesn't meet your needs. However, we have some other homes that may be coming down the pike, the pike. Would you like to be kind of first in line for those homes?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So, and listen, just to make sure, I want to make sure I'm not stepping on anybody's toes. Are you currently working with another real estate agent?
Well, I prefer working on my own. I think I can get a better value today, especially for a seller that can save on commissions.
Okay, so all right. So again, I'm a little confused about what he said. And you guys, if you don't know what they said, ask. I mean, if you order something in a restaurant and a server doesn't understand you, they're going to say, "Well, what did you say?" So you're saying you're not working with any real estate agents? What? Tell me that again, Al. I missed that.
No, I'm trying to purchase something on my own and save that commission.
On your own. So how do you do that on your own? I mean, you're looking at listed property, right? So that's not really on your own. So how do you mean on your own? I mean, somebody's got to let you in. Who is that?
Well, that's why I called you guys. You had the listing on this property, and I wanted to,
Oh, now I'm playing Columbo, you guys. I mean, I think I know what he says, but I'm just playing Columbo. But oh, are you saying that you work with a listing agent? You only want to work with a listing agent, right?
correct.
Well, and you said you want to save some of the commission?
Yes, on my offer, the seller can save the commission that the buying agent would normally get and make my offer more attractive.
Okay, so how much in general, how much do you think that is?
Well, I think today most are getting somewhere between 2.5% and 3%.
So there again, going back to this is a number situation, so you want to clarify and get the number. So you're working with a listing agent in hopes of saving 2.5% to 3% or getting that money back, right?
Correct.
Is there any other reason why you're going alone? Why did I say that? That's what he said.
No, it's with the way the market is and having select number of dollars to work with. I'm just trying to get into that dream house we've been looking at getting into this area.
So it's about the money. Let me ask you, if you could save that 2.5% and 3% and you didn't work with a listing agent, would that still work for you?
Well, like I say, it's up to the seller to save that money. So the seller could save it off the listing agent or the buying agent and make my offer more attractive. At a $500,000 house, I mean, that's
$15,000, right?
Yeah.
Yet, however, let's say you had a really good agent you're working with that had maybe some inside knowledge and inside relationships, good at negotiating, and you could have someone that would do all the heavy lifting for you, and you could still save the 2.5% to 3%. Would that model work for you?
Yeah, if you could do that.
Now, I'm going to stop right there. Tell me now, let's go into a chess analogy here just a little bit. What did I do? That's kind of a strategy. Did you tell me what you saw me do?
You tried to point out to me that I could get what I was looking for, and you could arrange that to be done.
Okay. Did I get his thinking off working with a listing agent? Yeah, because working with the listing agent, and that's why I'm dealing with it. We're going to hear that a lot of buyers want to work with a listing agent because they can think they can save some money or make their offer more attractive because they don't have to pay a buyer's agent, right? Well, I think step one is, well, if you could save all that money anyway and have somebody help you, would you consider that? I mean, in other words, if I represent you for free, would you do it? If he says no, then I got to figure out exactly what's going through his mind. However, if he says yes, well, now you can have a 15-minute conversation about how that might work. So let's now really quick identify the pain for him, before we get off this call, because we've got, let's take a minute, then we'll do our ahas. What is the pain point for a buyer that wants to be unassisted?
They have
Meeting his objective.
Say it again.
Meeting his or her objective.
Okay, get more specific.
Saving money on the purchase to make your offer more attractive.
Well, that's what they think it's going to be. They think that's what's going to happen. However, in reality, what does happen? Jeff, what's been your experience on people doing this?
Well, so I haven't, I mean, ultimately, I mean, I haven't actually had anybody do it because the ones I'm representing go with me. So, but on the other side of that, I think the experience I'm running into is the people that I am working with realize that there's a lot more to it than just saving a few bucks on the commission, that there's a lot of other potential financial hurdles and pitfalls that could cost you tens of thousands of dollars by not having good representation. So those are things that I kind of bring up throughout my consultations and conversations and coffee meetings with people that I'm working with, so that once we get to that point, they understand that there's a whole lot of things that they weren't necessarily aware of. Just like when we were talking about the seller on the other side, selling yourself.
You're right.
Costing you money, and your attempt to save money could end up costing you tens of thousands of dollars.
Exactly right. It's almost the exact opposite from the seller standpoint. You know, we're kind of free. We're going to actually help the buyer save money. Besides that, I mean, if the market's going up, if the buyer delays on getting a home, the next home he pays is more money. And how he can't get to all these different houses working with a listing agent. Listing agent doesn't have time. So you have to help them see the pain. So great class, you guys. So share some ahas, get off and put them in the chat, or just, got just half a dozen or a dozen of us here. What did you learn? What did you write down that was worth your investment of time here today? Let me hear from a couple of people.
I like the example you used with the concert tickets with Reagan. I thought that was a great example.
Oh, you probably like Shania Twain. All right, awesome, Al. What else?
Just using the real life stories.
Have your story. We have a story. We have a story on sellers and buyers. We have our stories. You got to have your stories. One more.
Script until you don't have to anymore. Barry Smith.
Barry Smith. Yeah. Script until you can get the appointment, then be human again. Well, Jeff and Sonny, thanks for hosting and co-hosting. You guys have an awesome day, and be careful out there. We will see you next week, next Tuesday, 1 p.m.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Danny.
Bye.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Denny.